Amateur Radio News and Notes for Friday, January 16th, 2026. I'm Ed Kabik, November 2, Echo Charlie. In the log this week, we'll have a contest spotlight with the North American QSO Party on single sideband this weekend. We'll also talk about the United States 60-meter band changes that are effective on February 13th, 2026, so you'll be up to speed with everything you need to know. Also, talk about the DXpedition spotlight for KP5/NP3VI and Desecheo Island. Rare DX, and it is going to be on for a bit. We'll talk about all the details. Also, we'll get into some MVARC Nets on the air, see what's happening with DX, get a solar activity update, talk about some upcoming contests, and interesting online radio content. As always, links to all the reference content can be found in the show notes or at our Substack at mvarc.substack.com. This weekend brings the latest edition of the North American QSO Party to the air, this time on single sideband. The goal of this contest is to work as many North American stations as possible during the contest. It runs from 1800 UTC on Saturday, January 17th, that's 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, until 5:59 UTC on Sunday, January 18th, that is 12:59 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. For the purpose of the contest, the North American stations are defined by the ARRL DXCC list, plus Hawaii. The exchange is a simple one: operator name and location, or state, province, and country. So for me, in Virginia, the exchange would be Ed in Victor Alpha, or Virginia. For non-North American stations, the exchange is just their name. Operating categories include a single operator with no spotting assistance permitted, single operator assisted with a spotting assistance being permitted, and multi-operator 2 transmitter. Power is limited to 100 watts for the low power category and 5 watts and under for QRP. Allowed bands include 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10 meters. Multipliers are all 50 U.S. states and D.C. and 13 Canadian provinces and territories and other North American DXCC entities. Non-North American entities don't count as a multiplier, but they do count for QSO credit. The score is the number of valid QSOs multiplied by the sum of multipliers worked on each band. There's also a team competition that allows you to have your score added to a cumulative team score. Logs are due no later than 7 days after the end of the contest, and electric submission via Cabrillo format is preferred. For more information, check out the contest rules at a link in the show notes, and good luck. The modifications to the U.S. 60-meter band that were announced in FCC Report and Order 25-60 was published to the Federal Register document number 2006-00587, which means that the changes will be effective February 13th, 2026. The main change relates to spectrum around the current channel at 5358.5 kilohertz, which will cease to exist and will be replaced by an allocation from 5351.5 kilohertz to 5366.5 kilohertz. The new allocation will be limited to no more than 9.15 watts effective radiated power, or ERP, which is a change from the previous limit of the channel of 100 watts ERP. The other channels at 5332, 5348, 5373, and 5405 kilohertz remain as before, with 100 watts ERP. Bandwidth on the 60-meter band is limited to 2.8 kilohertz, and amateurs are reminded that our privileges on the band are secondary to the other stations authorized by the FCC and NTIA, as well as other nations in the fixed service and all other nations in mobile, with the exception of aeronautical mobile. In an update to the ARL Roanoke Division members, Division Director Jim N2ZZ and Vice Director Bill N2COP remind amateurs of that secondary status, saying, quote, "When we were originally given channels in the band, we were limited to 50 watts PEP. Afterwards, our power level was increased to 100 watts PEP because we were good neighbors. We hope that this will happen again. Enjoy our new privileges." This is an exciting new addition on a very useful band, and the low power levels will make it a great place to enjoy QRP communications. More information can be found at links in the show notes. A highly anticipated DXpedition to Desecheo Island in Puerto Rico is currently underway. Desecheo Island is one of the most sought-after DXCC entities on the Club Log Most Wanted list, currently ranked at number 14 on the list. The island is managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and is currently closed to the public due to the presence of unexploded military ordnance from its previous use as a bombing range from 1940 to 1964. As such, it is quite challenging to make contact with this DXCC entity. The island is relatively small, at 360 acres of rugged and mountainous terrain, with a semi-deciduous dry forest and grassland. The island has no source of fresh water. The island has also been a part of extensive efforts to restore the island to its prior status by successful invasive species eradication efforts from 2003 until 2017, when the island was declared free of invasive mammal species. The KP5/NP3VI team was able to obtain a special use permit from the Fish and Wildlife Service for a very special type of DXpedition. They're using a state-of-the-art remote operating system that allows for radios to be on the island and for the operators to be off the island, helping to ensure the safety of both the native species on the island and the DXpeditioners. A small team deployed 2 remote deployable units, or RDUs, that should allow the team to operate 24 hours a day for 30 days. The RDUs were made by the Manana DX Foundation, and they are run on battery power and are recharged using solar panels, helping to ensure a minimal environmental impact while allowing operations from 160 to 6 meters. This DXpedition from Desecheo is the first organized by a Puerto Rican team in over 46 years, and the first time in 17 years that Desecheo has been activated. The pileups have been intense, and the signals to the eastern U.S. have been strong. There is a large group of operators making this DXpedition a reality so that Desecheo can get into the logs of as many amateurs as possible. They're live streaming their operations on Club Log and have facilities for operators to verify they're in the log. The organizers hope that this will be a model for future operations in ecologically sensitive areas, allowing for more DX to be on the air. More information about the island and operations can be found at links in the show notes. Get on the air and in their log. Good luck. And now let's talk about some MVARC Nets on the air. As always, we've got our 2-meter FM net on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on the repeater. That is immediately followed by the 2-meter digital net on Yaesu System Fusion C4 FM. On the weekends, we got the MVARC Slow Speed CW Roundtable on Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 a.m. on 3.565 megahertz CW, and all are welcome to join us. And that's followed by the MVARC Cherry Tree Net, Saturday and Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern at 3.920 megahertz lower sideband, where we always have a great conversation, and you're always welcome to join us. Now let's take a look at what is happening with DX. There will be a lot of DX on the air this week. Stations include Rwanda, Tanzania, Aruba, Desecheo Island, like we were talking about before, Curacao, Gambia, Roatan Island, South Sudan, Greenland, Solomon Islands, Colombia, and Antarctica. A calendar of DXpeditions can be found at dxnews.com/calendar. And now let's take a look at a solar activity update as we go to press. The Solar Flux Index, or SFI, was at 139, and the estimated sunspot number was 123, with 5 numbered sunspot regions visible from Earth. Over the last week, the SFI has stayed about the same. Solar activity has been at low levels in the last 24 hours. The geomagnetic field has been at quiet to unsettled levels, and the KP index reached 3 yesterday. The solar wind peaked at 675 kilometers per second. Solar activity is predicted to be at moderate levels, with a slight chance of an X-class flare today through Sunday. The geomagnetic field is forecast to be at quiet to active levels today, and at quiet to minor storm levels on Saturday, and unsettled to minor storm levels on Sunday. The chance of solar radiation storms at the S1 or greater level is at 1% today through Sunday. R1 to R2 radio blackouts are likely in the near term, with a predicted probability of 55% today through Sunday. R3 or greater blackouts are unlikely, with a 10% chance predicted today through Sunday. There's a chance of 6-meter propagation, so keep an eye on the band and spotting clusters to be ready for the next time the Magic Band does its thing. It remains a fantastic time for amateurs to get on the air and work the world. Good sources of real-time solar information include spaceweatherlive.com and solarham.com. A good overview of the conditions can be found at dx.qsl.net/propagation. To see delay or absorption data and associated radio blackouts, visit the NOAA DRAP page. And to see real-time maximum usable frequency, or MUF, and critical frequency, or FOF2 information from Radiosun data, visit prop.kc2g.com. And now let's take a look at some upcoming contests. This weekend brings the AWA Link Kundal Memorial CW Contest, the Hungarian DX Contest, the Pro Digi Contest, the RSGB AFS Contest on single sideband, the North American QSO Party on single sideband, the North America Collegiate Championship on single sideband, the ARRL VHF Contest, the Feldhell Sprint, and the Run for the Bacon QRP Contest. As always, the K1USN SSTs, the MSTs, and the CWTs will also be on the air. The full contest calendar with events and exchanges can be found at contestcalendar.com. And finally, let's wrap things up with some interesting online radio content. As always, all the links are in the show notes and at mvarc.substack.com. Mike K8MRD gives an unfavorable review of the Yaesu FC80 antenna tuner. He really did not like this thing. Dougbo KD7DUG punches through pileups with his QRP Labs QMX. Ed W4EMB does a POTA pack mule activation on CW. Stuart Victor Echo 9 Charlie Fox advocates for less negativity in radio. Josh KI6NAZ builds a crystal radio kit. The Smokin' Ape looks at the RF Explorer as a field strength meter. Save It for Parts builds a satellite station to receive ham TV from the ISS. Michael KB9VBR talks about lithium battery safety. Mark KD7DTS and Adam K6ARK live stream the first activation of some SOTA summits. Mike K8MRD talks about charging DIY solar generators. Colin MM0OPX builds the feed point for a phased vertical antenna system. Mr. Carlson's lab talks about why crystals are needed in radios. Matt M0DQW takes a look at a B210 clone SDR. Peter VK3YE builds a direct conversion receiver on a tin can with 4 transistors, and here's some intercontinental DX. Crazy Chekhov updates his Yaesu FT897 with modern internal batteries for a truly all-in-one rig. George VK2AOE works on his 40-meter homebrew transceiver. The ARRL talks about the America 250 Worked All States operating event. Mike K8MRD talks about power options for the QRP Labs QMX transceivers. And TJ K9KJ talks about the Micro PA100 portable HF amplifier. Well, that is it for this week. I've been Ed, November 2 Echo Charlie. As always, thank you so much for being with us. We hope you have a great week ahead. Best 73. And we look forward to seeing you next week.